What's today's date? It's the first of you. What's today's date? Book a table for two.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a battle of concealers video. I recently posted a lot about my concealers and a lot of you guys always ask me, how does the Fenty one compare to the Tarte Shape Tape? How does the Tarte Shape Tape compare to the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer? So on and so forth. And I thought, what better way than to put them to a test side by side on my face. And I'm going to be testing a lot of things, how waterproof they are, what their coverage, what their finishes, the price, the shade range, how it wears, and so on and so forth. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so today I'll be putting 3 concealers to the test, and I believe that these 3 concealers are also like the hottest 3 concealers right now in Sephora. So we have the Fenty Beauty Instant Retouch Concealer. This comes in 50 shades and it is also in the Pro Filt'r range. As you guys know, Rihanna's the founder of Fenty Beauty and she is such a big fan of creating so many different shades to fit every single skin tone. So in her entire collection, there are 50 shades of foundation, and accompanying it, she also recently launched 50 shades of her concealer. And I am in the shade 180 because I prefer to use like something slightly lighter than my concealer to highlight my under eyes and so on and so forth. Then we have another contender. This is the Tarte Shape Tape. Comes in 30 different shades. Even though I feel that, that's 20 shades less, 30 shades is quite a good range already. For the longest time, you can only get it online and of course in other countries. I don't know why they take so long to come to Singapore, but I'm so glad that they did. Then we have another contender. This is the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer, a concealer that I included in my best of 2018 makeup video. If you guys are interested, I'll link it over here. But this concealer was the concealer that kind of stood by me the whole 2018 and I really love it. I've also been using it for many years already. This one comes in 30 shades as well. So let's put them to the test. I don't have concealer right now on my face, so I am just gonna apply the concealer like how I normally would. I don't know how I'm gonna do like 3 concealers on a face because I only have like 2 sides to a face, so I will try my very best too. Okay, I have been long-term users of the Tarte Shape Tape as well as the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer, so you guys already know that I love these 2. So first up, I'm just gonna show you guys the wands of the 3 different concealers. So you guys can see that Tarte has a really big and fat doe foot applicator compared to the other 2. So this one is Fenty Beauty and this one is Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. So even though the wands of these 2 are very similar, I feel that the texture of the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer is a lot thicker and less easy to glide. So I feel that most people are more interested in comparing the Tarte Shape Tape and the Fenty Beauty. In terms of the consistency, the texture, the wand, so on and so forth, these 2 are more similar. So first up, let's apply them on the face. I'm going to do Tarte this side and I'm going to do Fenty this side. Look at Tarte's wand, like the Shape Tape wand is just no joke. Okay, I'm just going to put 3 dots on this side and over here the Fenty. Just going to use my fingers so that it's all fair. And right off the bat, I can see, I don't know if you guys can see that the Fenty Beauty one is actually pretty thick. The coverage is quite full, it's very brightening as well. And it gives a very flawless kind of texture, like a finish. And you do actually need to take a while to work it in. The Tarte side is slightly easier to blend. It's a little bit more liquidy and watery. The coverage is also really full. And a little bit definitely goes a long way for this. As you can see, it's way more product compared to the Fenty one where I spread all the way out until here already. I don't know if you guys can see, but both sides are pretty similar. But I feel that the Tarte side definitely covered way more compared to the Fenty Beauty side. And definitely when it comes to thickness, even though the Fenty Beauty side feels thicker in consistency, it kind of sets to a more natural finish compared to the Tarte side, which kind of is a little bit clinging onto my textures underneath my eyes. For now, I prefer the Fenty side for under my eyes, but I can imagine the Tarte doing much better all across the entire face because the texture is slightly more liquidy and you can use a lot less product. The Fenty Beauty side actually set to quite a matte, powdery finish, whereas for the Tarte side, you still do need to apply some setting powder because it is still quite sticky. So I'm just gonna apply it around the corners of my nose on both sides and test out how these two fare. I'm gonna use Fenty on this side and Nars on this side. So the corner of my nose is the most troublesome area to conceal because it is red and it is dry. So usually for my concealers, they always like to separate and crack. Okay, so I have applied both and you guys can see that actually it's quite similar. This is the Fenty side and this is the Nars side. I feel that the coverage and the finish for the Fenty side is more suitable because it's a little bit more dry and it adheres better into the cracks and make it look a little bit more natural. Alright, so now we are done with the test on our face and I'm using the Chantecaille Candlelit Loose Powder. Alright, now that I've set it with powder, I can't actually see from my naked eye like the difference between the three concealers. I feel that they are all really, really good. So now let's go in depth and test them out even more. I am gonna be taking a eyeliner to do 3 crosses on my hands. So now I'll be taking the Tarte Shape Tape first and applying it on the first cross, like so. Next up is Fenty Beauty. And lastly, it's the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. So right now, I will just start blending the 3 of them. So as you guys can see, I think the Tarte Shape Tape has the least amount of coverage amongst the 3. In fact, the Fenty Beauty one has a little bit more coverage, it's thicker as well, but it's also taking a bit longer to set and dry down. Nars, on the other hand, is the fastest to dry down and set, and I see that it has quite a good, decent amount of coverage as well. So in terms of coverage, next up, I'm going to be testing how well they do at covering redness. So I have here with me a red blush. Same thing, Tarte first, Fenty Beauty, and Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. And now I'm gonna just use my fingers for Tarte. Ooh, I think it covers redness very well. This is for Fenty, and this is for Nars. Alright, actually all 3 of them covers redness very, very well. I see a little bit of redness still picking out of the Fenty Beauty one as well as the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. Whereas for the Tarte Shape Tape, it actually doesn't even have any red tint to it at all. So I think in terms of redness coverage, Tarte Shape Tape is the best. And now it's time for the waterproof test. Let's see how these 3 does in the water. Okay, so I just wet it. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see, but out of the 3 of them, the most smudging I think would be the Tarte Shape Tape. And this probably tells that it's the least waterproof compared to the other 2. But I would say the Fenty and the Nars one are really, really, really close to each other. In fact, all 3 did really well for the waterproof test. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I realized I forgot to tell you guys the prices of each concealer. So the Tarte Shape Tape retails for $42 and there are 30 shades. The Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer retails for $46, there are 30 shades. And the Fenty Concealer retails for $38 and there are 50 shades. So all in all, I think that, okay, the prices are all quite high. But of course, when you compare the Nars to the Fenty one, the prices differ quite a bit. It's $46 versus $38, so that's a good few dollars that is different. But honestly, if you compare these 2, I feel that the Fenty Beauty one has done so much better in terms of the under eye and also in terms of, you know, the redness and like around the sides of your nose compared to the Nars one. So yeah, if you guys are comparing these 2, then I would say Fenty Beauty. Tarte Shape Tape versus Fenty Beauty, on the other hand, the price difference is not that big. I would say because this one has 20 more shades compared to Tarte Shape Tape, if you are very in between shades and you really want a very close shade match, then I would say go for the Fenty Beauty one because they've got a lot more shades to offer. But for the Tarte Shape Tape, I think when it compares to Fenty's Instant Retouch Concealer, this one does a lot better all around the face because the consistency and the texture is slightly more hydrating than this one. But all in all, you guys saw my review. I think all three of these are really good concealers, and honestly they are very similar, so it really depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for coverage? Are you looking for a matte texture? Are you looking for a more creamy hydrating formula? Or are you looking for one that can cover redness very well or stays waterproof very well, and so on and so forth. And hopefully I hope you guys found this review useful. I would say I love them all the same, so and I use them interchangeably. In fact, I use them on different parts of my face. I like to use Fenty for the corners of my nose. I like to use Nars for, like, you know, my red spots and so on because the coverage is really good. I like to use Tarte for underneath my eyes and for the rest of my face because, you know, the consistency is a lot more hydrating. So it really is up to you and what kind of user you are. Nevertheless, I hope you guys found this useful and liked this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and I'll see you in my next video.